Today we're at Cactus High School for the Arizona Robotics League. Last season, the Arizona Diamondbacks Foundation and Honeywell invested in this playing surface that you see behind me to give first robotics teams in Arizona a chance to practice their skills during their off season. And to come and see it today is absolutely incredible.
The Arizona Robotics League is a place where teams can maximize the use of their resources because it is a free event. All teams get to participate for free, and this is all thanks to our sponsors like the Arizona Diamondbacks and Honeywell.
We are hoping that these events combined with our regular season stuff really inspires the community to keep their programs around for a longer period of time, and we can overall grow STEM in Phoenix and all of Arizona.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our last ARL warm-up episode. This one covering the ARL Championship happening this Saturday at Cactus High School. Very excited for it. Preparations are madly underway. We've been scrambling all week, put on the best event possible for you all this weekend. So we're pretty excited about it. As usual, my name is Luke Valencio. I am an ARL Program Director. And joining me for the final warm-up of the season is Arheo. Arheo, hi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Great, he's doing great. He has prepared a stack of spicy slides for us this evening, one of which probably has a typo in it.
Haha.
I'm just guessing.
Slide guy. At it again.
So tonight it's going to be a little short episode today. We're going to cover just a little, a couple things that we want to make sure everyone remembers based from the ARL handbook coming into this weekend. A couple key things that our Alliance captains should remember. We're going to take a look at our schedule for the day. And then we thought maybe we'd take a trip down memory lane and explore the history or the season history of our alliances, not just ARL, but kind of go back and look at their whole body of work for the whole year. It's been a really long FRC year. ARL has provided us the opportunity to keep playing robots all the way up until November. And this is it. This is the last event, unless there's an Arizona team going some out-of-state off-season that I don't know of. This is it. This is the last off-season event that any of our ARL teams will participate in. So I'm looking forward to it, and we're going to deep dive, I guess, so we're going to deep dive the history there and see kind of how we got here.
It's been a long road.
It's been a long road. Per usual, a big thank you to our sponsors, Honeywell and the Arizona Diamondbacks, Cactus High School, and PUSD. We obviously wouldn't have been doing any of this all year without them, and I'm very excited to continue working with them for ARL in the future. Arheo, what are you most excited about for ARL this weekend?
A little part of me is ready for the season to be over, but I'm very excited to see the double elimination, especially with the old best 2 out of 3 format.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be a little more competitive than standard double elimination, but we'll have to find out.
Yeah, right. Selfishly, and I hope all the Arizona Robotics League teams realize and maybe appreciate we're getting to play in the double elimination bracket before it's actually a thing during the FRC season, right? So now all of our teams get practice in this new format, whereas teams that aren't participating in the ARL Championship maybe don't get this practice. And, granted, we are changing things up a little bit. We are making each round best 2 out of 3 rather than best of 1, but that's actually kind of cool if you look at it the other way. No one else anywhere is doing that, right? We've had keen eye observers have probably seen or watched several off seasons across the globe that use the double elimination format, but no one has done a best 2 out of 3 for each round double elimination format because it doesn't really work in a typical FRC day, right? Or a Saturday. So why do it? Well, at ARL, because our whole day is the tournament, we can. So I'm really excited for that. I agree. Do you have a favorite moment from this season?
Yeah, it was really early in the season, I guess. Now it's early. When the coconuts showed up, it was really cool to finally see some double traversals happening.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see too many in the regular season here in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just really nice to see that engineering challenge progress across the state.
Yeah, I got to agree. I mean, My favorite moment is probably, I don't know, the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time that the Bitbuckets forgot to put the pin in their robot while they were climbing. But other than that, my favorite moment is pretty much, you're right, the whole season, right? As we got to the later ARL events and we saw some of the teams that maybe don't get enough time to compete or continue to work on their robot during the regular season, but those robots who may normally struggle during a regular regional or the regional during the normal part of the year, right? Those robots are to execute the game better because they've had extra time to work on their robot and to maybe to get their shooter dialed in or something. And I think that's definitely my favorite part too. All right, enough rambling about the history and the past of ARL. Let's get into some quick, I don't know, housekeeping, I guess, so to speak. I think he already plugged them in the chat, but please follow us on all our social medias. We got every single one you could think of. I'm getting tired of naming them all. So just look for them on your favorite platform, and we're probably there. We have not got the verification mark yet on Twitter, but it's only $8 away. So, you know. All right, that's some little cultural humor.
If someone wants to donate that, we'll get verified.
Also, just a reminder that if you haven't been following our team updates, there is a channel in the Discord that has been covering them all. So if you think you've missed something or want to stay up to date on all of the changes to the handbook, please look there. Or if you just have literally never read the handbook and you may not know about some of the rule changes that ARL employs, please look back there as well. I'm skipping ahead. We wanted to show, this is also in the Discord. So if you're not in the Discord, I suggest maybe you join it because a lot of interesting and cool stuff gets posted there. And you can totally find this there and you can click on it and it'll expand and it'll be larger. So this is our schedule for the day. As you can see, we're playing 6 rounds. The matches highlighted in red are elimination matches. And there is an entire tiebreaker set of matches for round 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Should the tiebreaker be necessary, it just doesn't fit all really nice in one graphic, which is why it looks like this. So if you're wondering what the match order will be, it is this. Round 1, match 1 starts with seeds 1 and 8 and moves all the way down until we repeat again with round 1, match 5. Everyone will get the match schedule printed in their pit. And we will make sure that our queuers are well aware of who's coming next. Because I know it'll be a little bit confusing. We don't have a super easy, match schedule generator like we do with normal FRC stuff. We haven't gotten there. Obviously, there will be one in the regular season. So we'll do our best to communicate effectively ahead of time when matches are taking place. Between rounds 2 and 3 and rounds 3 and 4 and rounds 5 and 6, there will be exhibition matches. The first 2 are more fun exhibitions, and the last exhibition will be our 3rd place match. And then the awards and the giveaways are also sprinkled in between rounds. So, there's a reason to stay in the stands all the whole day, and I promise we will put up as big an entertainment day as possible. Going back to maybe something you may have missed in the previous team update, and it's something that is in the ARL handbook, I want to call attention to 11.4.2, that driver station choice is a thing at the ARL Championship, right? First of all, this is something that FRC is employing starting next year, so we are just aligning ourselves with what 2023 FRC will have. Alliances will have the choice to choose which of their teams go in each driver station. Okay, in the interest of time, make sure to read that second line. Alliance captains must communicate their alliance driver station choice prior to the start of their first match in each round, right? So, and then driver station choice is locked for the duration of the round. So what does that mean? That means if we look at round 1, match 1, the number 1 seed and number 8 seed need to communicate their alliance station choice to the FTA or the whoever field side head ref, one of those two, or the prior to that match starting. Once that match starts, they are locked into that until round 2. You can switch it up in round 2. You cannot switch it up for your second or third match in round 1. So really think hard about where you want your defense robot, if you have one, where you want your offensive robots, because if it doesn't work in your first match, you're going to have to figure out how to make it work, because you can't be switching around during the rounds. But you're totally able to switch between rounds all the way up until finals if you make it there. So I hope that's not very confusing for anyone. It's going to be an experience for everyone involved. So please have plenty of patience for volunteers. Volunteers will have plenty of patience for teams as we experience this all for the first time together. All right. In the last bit of housekeeping, we just have a couple important dates coming up. Obviously, the reason why we're all here, the ARL Championship, is this Saturday at Cactus High School. That would be 11/12. On 11/11 Friday, you can load in, just like any other ARL event. You can load in Friday at 5 p.m. We will have practice matches on Friday. You do not need your entire alliance there on Friday in order to practice. It'll just be random practices. It won't be like you're assigned to your alliance for the practice matches. On the 12th, if you're loading in on Saturday, load-in begins at 7:30. At 7:45, we will have the field open for field calibration. That is just limelight calibration, no shooting the balls or anything like that, just limelight calibration. And that'll run from 7:45 to 8:45. And then at 9 a.m., we will begin opening ceremonies with our first match starting about 9:15, and then expect to run till the late afternoon, early evening, just like a normal FRC regional. The ARL Championship will probably run a bit later than a normal ARL qualifier, although if you're at the ARL October qualifier, probably about the same end time, about 5:30 is what you can expect. And then we will have our last ARL season coverage episode, the extra innings episode on 11/16. That would be a week from today, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. To wrap up the season and kind of go over the action that will take place on Saturday. All right, that was... Oh, I lost my cursor. There it is. That was a mouthful. I'm going to stop talking because now we're going to start covering our alliances, and our Halo is going to take us through maybe alliance number 1, the history there from the season.
Yeah. So, starting off with the captain of the first alliance, we have 498, the Cobra Commanders. They've had quite a long season. They went to 3 regionals this year, as well as the championship, where they made it to the finals of their division, and attended every single ARL qualifier, plus Chesney Champs in September. Throughout all of this, they were semifinalists once, they were quarterfinalists once, and they were a finalist once, as well as winning Chesney Champs. It was a pretty long and rough season for the robot, with a robot change halfway through, as you saw in the debut of the new robot in August. It was a very similar season to their first choice, the Coconuts, who also attended 3 regionals, going to North, Colorado, and Utah. Also went to the championship in April, and did not attend every ARL qualifier, but they went to their 2 and Chesney Champs in September. And to wrap up their alliance, they have the Robo Bears, who only went to Arizona Valley, where they actually won the event. They are the only winner of an event in the ARL Championship, fun fact.
That's pretty interesting.
They are...
Right? Of all the success that our ARL teams have had, the only team in the championship to have won a regional this year during the regular FRC season is 7703, the Robo Bears, in the same exact spot that they find themselves in now.
So it's a good omen for them.
Well, maybe. We'll see. No, I thank you for the coverage on those teams. I think you're right. I think it's pretty interesting to look at 498 and 2486 and kind of their mirrored seasons, both going through regionals, championship, Chesney Champs, and state. We definitely skipped over the fact that that 2486 has won the Arizona State Championship, and while 498 lost in the finals, and now they're working together because 498
You're
split
right.
up the Arizona State championship winning duo. You know, Alliance number one is going to shoot a lot of cargo high. They only have one traversal, so they definitely lose points in the end game, and it'll be interesting to see what the predominant strategy is. I mean, I kind of know it, I guess, but it'll be interesting to see the predominant strategy from the number one seed. I'm more interested in what you have to say about our following alliances because I think there's some really interesting combinations of robots after the one seed.
Yeah. So in the second alliance, we have 2403, who they've been on the first alliance almost the entire ARL, except for the first one where they were in the same spot as they are now, captain of the second seeded alliance. And this time they picked up Launch Team, who they also played with at their second event in Arizona Valley. That was seen as a strange choice back then by some, but it ended up taking them all the way to the semifinals, not to the finals, but they're hoping to turn that luck around here, I guess. They attended 3 regionals, didn't make it to the championship, going to North Valley and Vegas, where they never really found the right alliance. Maybe they were too far down in the draft, or maybe the alliance partner had a reliability issue. So it's a bit unfortunate, but they found a lot of success in the Arizona Robotics League, and I think they're trying to carry that through to the championship.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I can't tell. So I can't tell if you're done. If you're gonna
You're good.
you're gonna keep.
We're gonna
Okay.
talk about the launch team, 6652. Much like 7703, they only attended Arizona Valley, so it's good to see this separation between teams that went to multiple events and teams that went to only one. Now they're getting to play in more events throughout the season. They were only semi-finalists at Valley, losing to the Robo Bears and the first seed alliance, who would go on to win the event. And their final choice of 2375 also only attended one regional at Arizona Valley and went to one ARL event all the way back in June. They can be a good defense spot, especially since they've had a lot of time to make repairs and upgrades on their robots since that June event. We haven't really seen much from them since online or at events, but hopefully they have a great package that they brought to this championship.
Yeah, I guess it's worth noting. I mean, obviously, if you're participating in the ARL championship, you know this, but it's worth noting that I mean, it's kind of obvious, but our alliances are selected ahead of the event, and teams have had the last weekend and will have the rest of the week, so they've had about a week and a half total of time to prepare their teammates and work with them. I already know of several alliances that have had scheduled practices together, which I think is awesome. So there's a good chance that several of our our second pick robots come and they have maybe something more to add. They have something added to their robot, or their new auto program, or just haven't practiced on defense. So that's definitely worth mentioning. I can't say enough praise about 2403 and as captains of number 2 alliance here. I think you're right. I think they're the perfect example to kind of what I was saying earlier, but just a really, really good a high goal shooting turret, right? Like really good, and it just and maybe it just needed some more time, just a month or two more, a couple more events or something to really dial it in. Plasma's a great team with a storied history, right? But even then, it seemed like they needed time, especially at their first or second event. And then in addition of a high climb or traversal climb, obviously that really takes the cake and has led to their Arizona State Championship win and all of their ARL wins. And in picking up the launch team, a team they played with, like you said, at Arizona Valley, I think is a great first pick. Another high goal shooting team that there's a double traversal possibility on this alliance. What I think is just to we're talking about history here, to harken back to Arizona Valley and the alliance they put together there. It was very clear that even though the launch team and Plasma lost in the finals, that they were the second highest scoring alliance potential there, right? So 6352 as captains at Alliance kind of weighed their possibilities and said, well, sooner or later we're going to run into the number 1 seed. Either it's going to be the finals or it's going to be in the semifinals, and either way we got to beat them. So let's field the highest scoring alliance that we can and play them in semifinals, and that's kind of what they did, right? And it obviously didn't go their way, but it's worth noting that that's why they built their alliance the way they did, and you're right, they have practiced playing together. They've gotten, they've had that experience of what part of the field each other excels at. And the addition of 2375, a team that with maybe some connection troubles during the Arizona Valley or the first ARL event, but if they can hammer those out, a team that will be a solid defensive robot and a team that has all of the pieces on there to do more than just play defense. They have an intake, they have a hopper, they have a flywheel, right? Like, so, even if they could figure out how to get a ball in the high goal in the auto, it could be huge for that alliance. So really interested to see on what this alliance does. A lot of our alliances for the ARL Championship are very clearly defined as 2 scoring robots and a very clear defending robot. I really like Alliance 2 because I think the potential is there for them to mix it up. There is potential there for 2375 to swap into maybe this hybrid scoring role and not just be a dedicated defensive robot. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, points are everything in the playoffs, so hopefully some strategy can change there. On the third alliance, we have we have the first Tucson team with 4183 as the captain. They've had a stellar season with a lot of almost, I guess, 2 regionals, North and Las Vegas, where they were semifinalists in North and they were finalists in Las Vegas. They had a couple of missed balls that cost them that one from both them and the high rollers. So could have had a very different story at the Las Vegas regional, but never happened. They've had one of the most, if not the most consistent traversals of the entire state ever since they showed it off at Arizona North. And it's a little, to me, I mean, I'm biased, but it's a little shocking to see them on the third alliance. But they made a great pick with 3853, Prytronics, ARL event winners now. They have a streak of being finals at both of their ARL events, which is a very good turnaround from their original season where they went to North and Valley, and they were only semifinalists with the Bit Buckets at North, and at Valley they were actually finalists with 498 the Cobra Commanders. So we could see a lot of points coming out of both those robots. Maybe some upsets later in the matches, but we won't know. And rounding out their alliance is the first secondary robot of the alliances with 9165, 1165's second robot, mostly a defense robot. But who knows, maybe they've made some changes to that since then. I know that they had a very different robot at the start of the season, so maybe it's shared parts from their original 1165 robot, along with their new and improved standard robot, the 1165 that we saw last weekend, 2 weekends ago, sorry. So might be a potential scorer mixed with defense, but we'll have to find out.
Yeah, thank you for the recap on Alliance number 3. 4183, really good fender shooter, a team that obviously capitalized on having the right drivetrain for this year with the Swerve Drive. This alliance, funnily enough, mirrors the number 1 seed in that they are both not tank drives number 1 or the first and second pick, or the first and second robot, right? The Prytronics being Mechnum wheels and the Bit Buckets being Swerve Drive, whereas number 1 seed is both 2 Swerve Drives. But the Bit Buckets from the beginning, speeding around the field again, showing that the Swerve Drive was a crazily dominant drivetrain choice this year. And we've seen the Bit Buckets go through kind of what we talked about earlier as well. They've used ARL as a platform to train new drivers and to try out new designs and to work on some stuff. And it doesn't really matter that if those designs suck or not. What the point is that they're utilizing the time to tinker on the robot and more design projects in general for their team. And I think that's great. Prytronics, what we saw at ARL October was that they were cycling low and climbing traversal. and it's been kind of their bread and butter all season. They've really stuck to their guns and what they can do and what they can do well, and they do it consistently, and it's gotten them to semifinals and finalist and ARL winner. And we didn't even mention, state, right? But it's gotten them into places of success or higher later on in the competition, right? Later on in the tournament, by sticking with it. And I think you're right. If they can capitalize maybe on 9165, right? Both 1165 and 9165. They've had a lot of practice. Those drivers have had a lot of practice playing defense during ARL. So I would not underestimate a robot, even if it doesn't have anything on there. I think that they're a really good defensive robot, and I think that they fell maybe a little bit farther than I was expecting, just because they've had practice recently in the ARL. So the fact that they fell this far is pretty impressive to me. If there's a taxi available, right, and maybe anything else they were able to add, but even if they don't really add anything, you can take away a lot of points if you're just a really good defender. So,
Yeah, I mean, defense puck gets paid.
that's true. TM. All right, alliance number 4. Take us through it.
All right, so as their captain, they have 6413 Degrees of Freedom, the only other team to have gone to every single ARL qualifier. In the regular season, they only went to Arizona Valley, where they were quarterfinalists, and they won the Chairman's Award, which sent them to the championship. In the championship, they didn't make it too far, but they took that as a learning opportunity, and they came to ARL with so many more designs and plans. We've seen them go through 2 different climber designs for traversal climb, as well as start to upgrade their secondary robots on their team for different drivetrain styles, maybe preparing for next year. With their first pick, they grabbed the Aztec 6479, who just like them went to Arizona Valley and Utah, where they were quarterfinalists and semifinalists respectively. And rounding out their alliance, they have 9449, who is, for registration reasons, is actually the original 2449 out of orbit robotics that we saw at Arizona Valley as well as the state championship and a few ARL qualifiers. At the Arizona Valley Regional, they only played 1 match against the Cobra Commanders and Pridetronics, but they had that experience under their belt, and they've improved and had their drivers trained so much over the off season. They've now, them and the sister team of 2449 at ARL have become some of the best defense robots in the league.
I'm not imagining it, but 9449 made a high goal shot at ARL October. That's all I'm saying.
I believe you're right.
So that's all I'm saying. So if I'm on another alliance, which I guess I am, I'm looking out strategically to see if 9449 maybe has an auto ball in the bag, or if the intake starts, if they could shoot more than 1 a game, that it could become something special. But points wise, I definitely look for maybe 9449 to have that auto ball. I think that would be huge. 6479 Aztecs, they're definitely one of our fastest shooting robots in the state. They shoot a lot of cargo. If they can get the accuracy down, zoned in, I think they're dangerous. They do only have a mid climb unless they've added something else. I don't know. But I think they make up for it in the amount of cargo that they shoot. They've found maybe a home this season as, the last robot, that second robot picked up in the draft by a lower level alliances, because their mid climb maybe keeps them off of a first pick list. But they shoot so well, it's impossible to deny them as, you can't, even if they only climb mid. So, and they've only gotten better since then, right? They've had one of their ARL events and state to hone that thing in. So they've only gotten better, and they're using the same driver. So I think that was a great pick by Degrees of Freedom. And you're right, DOF, they've done everything right over the course of the ARL season. They've made it to finals too many times. They keep iterating on their climber. It's very close. They ran a couple times at ARL October because I wasn't at state, so I didn't get to see it. But I'm very excited to see if it's getting them up and onto the traversal bar at the championship on Saturday. and they just keep shooting better, right? Like, I mean, there's not too much you can ask for, and I think a lot of our alliances are going to be on the same strategic plane where they all shoot relatively the same, and maybe their traversals aren't exactly perfect, but so it'd be like a question of who gets those things tuned in faster, who's driving better that day, yada yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. But I think a lot of our middle level alliances are on the same plane, so it's really going to come down to strategy. I think that Alliance 4 has some really big strategic choices to make in terms of where they're positioning their offensive robots, and I'm obviously curious to see how they're going to do that. And I know they got something in their bag. I'm sure of it. I just don't know what it is, but they got it. It's
It's a good chance for them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I will cover Alliance number 5 because it's not crazy difficult. We have 2 second robots, like additional robots that competed at ARL this year. 2449, which is actually Out of Orbit's second robot, and 9662 RoboCrew second robots. Both of them are defense only, drive chassis. This alliance may be a little underpowered cargo wise, but I gotta say, when you're defending, anything can happen. Like when you go double defense, all in on defense, anything can happen. They do have 3944 on their alliance, the All Knights. They are a really accurate high goal scoring machine. Arheo, correct me, remind me where 3944 competed this year. Was it Arizona Valley?
They went to Arizona Valley.
Yep.
No other events.
Yep.
Except for the.
And they're a team that, again, just with more time to lock in their limelight. I mean, they went to state, right? But with more time to lock in their limelight, have gotten more accurate. I think that if this alliance was able to do anything, maybe in the week and a half leading up, maybe somebody has added some kind of climbing device, maybe a mid-climb, every bot type situation, or if they have, one of the climber in a box laying around, something like that. I think that the Alliance 5 is definitely underpowered in the end game, but I know that 3944 has a 2-ball auto, and if they can protect 3944 and kind of let them go to town, there's going to be plenty of cargo on the field for them. So I think they can put up a pretty decent score, and maybe they don't win their first matchup against Alliance number 4, but they certainly can make their way through the lower bracket once they play the other alliances who don't win their first matchup.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen 3944 shine in those last 30 seconds once everybody goes to climb. So I think you made a great point that if they just kind of play some counter defense to protect 3944, they might be able to take that match on cargo.
Mm-hmm. Certainly want to make sure that this alliance has all their taxis going, right? You need every bit of points you can. So, if you're on Alliance 5 and maybe you haven't been in contact with your teammates, maybe use the Discord, and now's a good time. Make sure that they have taxi code, and if they need help, you can obviously help them. Alrighty, Alliance number 6. Arheo, why don't you take it away?
All right. So here we have the first alliance captained by a second robot with 9413. If you remember, that is the Swerve robot that Degrees of Freedom debuted at the October qualifier. It's a super fast, super swervy robot, as the name implies. They were able to play some really good defense against other teams and kind of deny points all over the field. And with them, they picked up 1165, who, while they only score low, they have been able to score pretty consistently in that low shot. So that will definitely keep a steady flow of cargo going. And they also picked up 9498 as a second defense robot. That robot's been through hell and back with different programming and drive issues going on, but it looked way better at Air October than it had all season. So I think they picked up a great robot and they made great use of those picks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of excited for this alliance, right? We know that Swerve robots, if they're not scoring, they are deadly defenders, right? They are really good defenders, and they're maybe the only thing that can keep up with a Swerve scorer, right? Is another Swerve robot playing defense. Apologies to 1165. We don't have an accurate photo, but that's not what their robot looks like anymore, right? Their robot has an every bot intake. It has a mid climber. It was popping in tons of cargo at Aero October. They made it to the finals, and I imagine that's why 9413 took them at their first pick. So that's a mid climb in the bag. We know 9498 has been at several ARL events. They're practicing defense. There also might be a climber. It's on there. I see it in the photo. So, giant question mark there. But yeah, just another alliance, kind of like Alliance 6, where they have one scorer, and it's going to be maybe a protect Mr. President situation, or how well can we double defend the opposing alliance, and to expand upon, anything can happen when you double defense, right? Like, it's a best of 3, not a best of 1, right? So if under heavy defense, our less maybe quality, rigid, assured robots have some technical issues, then maybe Alliance 6-5, whoever, can pick up a win in the second round, right? Because there's not a big turnaround, or there's not a lot of time to fix your robot, right? So I think really, like, honestly, jams, high centering on cargo, right? The barrel connector and the radio jiggles, wire pops out of PDP. Under heavy defense, robots can crumble, even the best of them, and not like dirty defense, just heavy defense, right? This happens, right? So I would not count any of these alliances out. And I wouldn't, if I'm them, I wouldn't count themselves out. I would make sure that points-wise, my scorer is in a position to score as many points as possible, so that if something does go wrong on the for the other alliance, you guys can capitalize it. Like, that's the only way, right? As a lower seed, it's kind of natural to be at a points disadvantage. It's how do you make up that points disadvantage? All right, we're almost there in the home stretch. Alliance number 7. Actually, really interested by this alliance for being Alliance 7. For being Alliance number 7, I think it has a lot of potential to make a run, maybe in the lower bracket, right? But make a run and then maybe get another shot against one of the higher seeds. But why don't you talk us through Alliance number 7?
Yeah. So captaining there, we have RoboCrew 2662, who only went to Valley, where they didn't make the playoffs, and it's a great comeback story for them, where they've just come to almost every ARL event, and every time they show up with a new shooter upgrade or an intake upgrade, they're constantly working on that robot to make it the best it can be. And so I think for them to pick up 698, who joined the championship last minute, that was a great move. It's going to give them the points they need to be competitive, especially in that lower bracket. If they fall there. 698 also only went to Valley and the state championship, where they were knocked out in the quarterfinals. But they made some improvements for the championship, and they look like a stronger robot than they were before. And then rounding out their alliance, they have 1011, who we last saw at June with their 2018 robot. From what I've heard, they've been working on upgrading that 2018 robot and make it a little bit more competitive for this year's game. Try to get some more points for an alliance. I think it's going to be a really powerful alliance, especially later in the rounds.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see this alliance and kind of what they come up strategically on the field. I think that 2662 has the capability. Maybe they didn't use it a lot during the ARL matches, or ARL playoffs, or even state, or whatever the case may be, right? Well, they didn't go to state. Sorry, during the ARL, during their ARL quals or something, because maybe they see the value in defense. But I know that this robot can score cargo. I've seen it. I think that if they're dedicated to it and they're not defended, they could pop off. 698 is probably going to see most of the defense here for this alliance, but if they can maybe use Friday night, or if they're at their shop and they can maybe get a launch pad shot kind of zeroed in so the defense is ineffective against them, I think that's really important. And then, yeah, you're right, a lot of it's going to come down to how much work can 1011 do to optimize that drivetrain to score as many points as they can for their alliance. But I got high hopes for this alliance. I think that they could put up a really good amount of points if they just play their cards right. All right, and rounding out our field, we have alliance number 8. Argeo, for the last time tonight, why don't you take us through some of the history here? There's actually a lot of history here. Robots that fit in the back of Chevy Sonics, robots that competed in 2020, robots
with a lot of springs.
Robots that had everything on there to score points, and then they took it all off, and then they put it all back on again. So why don't you take us through Alliance number 8?
Yeah, so 9403, another robot that's been to almost every ARL event, missing out on only October. It's a Plasma's 2020 robot, which has been shockingly good at scoring points for his Alliance this year. They have a flawless taxi that hasn't failed them yet, as well as the mid climb. So it's a great use of a robot that never got to really see its heyday. And so picking up 7755, who became a much more viable pick practically overnight when they reassembled their robot for the state championship. They originally had the robot built, and they took it apart when we saw them at ARL July, I believe, just a drivetrain. And now they score points in the logo, and they have the potential for a mid climb or a last second low climb. So definitely some good points there. And then picking up our first ever third robot, they grabbed 9989, which is Degrees of Freedom's 2020 robot. So 2 2020s on there. It's a good use for a robot that never got to play a real match since that season was canceled.
Yeah, the Alliance number 8, I think, they have several climbers available. They can score cargo in the local. I think they're kind of like Alliance number 5, where the point values are a little bit underpowered, but with the right defense and maybe the right alterations to the robot in the week and a half leading up to the championship, they could find themselves going a couple rounds deeper than maybe people would think, right? It's kind of the beauty of the double elimination bracket. On paper, Alliance number 8 might get, slammed by the Alliance number 1 in the first round, but because we're double elim, their day doesn't end, right? They're going to go right to the lower bracket, and they will face a team that maybe is closer to them, and they can make a run down there. All right. Well, that's all of our alliances. I know that took a little bit longer than maybe we were expecting, because there's a lot of history. It's a long season. But I've enjoyed kind of taking a walk down memory lane. We've had a lot of our teams, obviously, they're in the ARL Championship. They've had success at ARL this season, from finalist to winner. They've had success at off seasons other than ARL, Chessie Champs, or the Arizona State Championship. And they had success during the regular season at their regionals they went to. I think if you've been paying attention, there's a lot of history here with a lot of the robots. We've been competing together for so long, it's just natural, right? Like 7703 knocked out 2403 and 6352 already this season. 2486 and 2403, they won 2 ARLs together handedly. They won state together, but now they're separated on number 1 and number 2 seed. So I think there's a lot. There's just a lot. There's a lot of storylines. I'm really looking forward to this Saturday. I hope everyone is telling everyone they know about it. We will have the gym open, full stands. It'll be a really good time. So looking forward to it. Argeo, thank you for your effort here on deep diving these teams.
Always a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, exactly. Just to reiterate one more time, if anyone's just joining us, I'm going to go back here. Just wanted to go over one bit of information that maybe people have glossed over. But if your alliance can select which driver station they would like to participate or like to drive in, if you do go that route, you must communicate what driver stations those are prior to start of your first match in each round. So therefore, your driver station choice is locked for the duration of the round. So what does that mean? That means, we go back, that means at the beginning of round 1, so for instance, the number 1 seed or the number 8 seed needs to lock in their driver station positions round 1, match 1. I don't care if it goes to 3 matches in round 1, those driver station assignments are staying the same. They can reevaluate their driver station alignment for round 2, and then they can keep going round 3, 4, 5, and 6. So just to hit on that one more time, just wrapping up here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate the support as always. Looking forward to seeing you all on Saturday. Follow us on our socials. We have a Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Follow us here on Twitch. We will be running more episodes, maybe not specifically ARL, but covering FRC in Arizona throughout the regular FRC season. So, keep coming back here for more content if you're interested in that kind of thing. Thanks to our sponsors, as always. I said at the beginning of the show, but thanks to Honeywell, thanks to Diamondbacks, Cactus High School, PUSD School District. All right, hey, what's one hot take, bold prediction for this Saturday as we're closing out?
Bold prediction?
Yeah.
I think that the 7th Alliance is making it out of round 2.
Round 2. So that would mean that they beat... I see. Okay. That's a bold prediction. My bold prediction is that we will see no double traversals in the finals.
That's pretty bold.
It's bold. Listen. I said they're bold predictions.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Please travel safely to the venue on Friday and Saturday. Come up and say hi to Arheo and I. We like to meet you all. Obviously, we're all the same FRC community, so please come up and say hi. Maybe say, great job, Slide Guy. No errors this week. And then you'll gas him up and he'll smile the rest of the day. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. See you next Wednesday. We'll see you Saturday and then see you next Wednesday here on the Twitch. Bye-bye.
See you then.